Hi, and welcome to Campus Mortgage, the mortgage industry's leading provider of underwriting, processing, quality control, servicing, and closing training. Before we get started, please take a moment to read Campus Mortgage's disclaimer and keep in mind the information contained in this video is time sensitive and subject to change without notice. Now let's get started. Today, we will be discussing part 2 of a 3-part video series which covers the differences between Fannie Mae cash out and limited cash out refinance transactions. So, in part 1, we discussed the definition for cash out and a definition for a limited cash out refinance. If you recall, for a cash out refinance, the borrower must have owned the property for a minimum of 6 months prior to being eligible. Well, there is an exception to that, and that would be with a delayed financing transaction. So delayed financing is a form of a cash out refinance that allows for the borrower to take out some equity from a property that has been owned less than 6 months. The cash out that they take with the delayed financing transaction must be used to reimburse the original source of funds that were used to purchase the home. So if the borrower took out a personal loan for $50,000 to buy a home, they could turn around and do a delayed financing refinance to recoup that $50,000. So some important things to take note of when you're doing delayed financing is that the title search must confirm that there are no existing liens on the property. So the property has to currently be free from any mortgage liens. There could have been no mortgage financing used to purchase the property, so you will be required to get documentation from the purchase, such as the final closing disclosure from the purchase, or a trustee's deed if it was paid in cash, confirming that there was no mortgage financing used to acquire that property. The funds used to purchase it must be sourced because, again, with delayed financing, we are repaying that source, right? So we have to document the source that was used. So if the borrower pulled money out of a savings account, we'd want to get their personal bank statement showing that they pulled out that $50,000 the day of closing to purchase the home. If they took out a personal loan, then you want to get a copy of that note and that loan documentation. They could have also used proceeds from a HELOC on another property that they owned, right? So delayed financing is common for property investors. So they own one property and they take out a HELOC on that property to buy the next one. That's perfectly acceptable. And with delayed financing, you can repay that HELOC. So the proceeds from a delayed financing transaction, again, can only be used to repay that source. So it must pay down or pay off the original source. So if you took out a loan for $200,000 to buy a house and you're doing a delayed financing transaction with only a loan amount of $100,000, that's okay. Just know that those proceeds from that $100,000 must all go towards paying down that original $200,000 loan. And if you received a gift to purchase the home initially, keep in mind that gifts cannot be reimbursed under the delayed financing transaction. The point of a gift is that it should not have to be reimbursed, so that's why you can't repay a gift under delayed financing. The loan amount for a new refinance will be limited to that borrower's initial investment in purchasing the property. So as we discussed, it's solely to repay that initial investment. So whatever that purchase price was or whatever the borrower brought in to acquire the home is what we're going to use as a basis for our new loan amount. And again, this is a refinance. And as we said in part 1, you can roll in your closing costs and prepaids on any refinance. Your LTV for a delayed financing transaction will be based on the current appraised value. So this question comes up often, especially with our investors. They could purchase a home for $50,000, put in a ton of work, so the current appraised value comes in, maybe $100,000. So they've doubled the value of that home. So the question is commonly asked, do we have to base our LTV off of the original purchase price, or can we go with the current appraised value? And Fannie Mae guides state that the LTV for delayed financing is based on the current appraised value. So LTV based on the current appraised value, your max loan amount is going to be limited to what the borrower initially invested to purchase the home. And this is still considered a cash out refinance, even though the borrower is not allowed to get any cash in hand. So it is a cash out refinance and subject to the LTV and CLTV limits per the cash out transaction eligibility. So your LTV will be limited. However, it is a free and clear property, so you don't have any liens that you're paying off. It's simply the borrower getting some equity back to reimburse whichever source was used to acquire the property. And that concludes part 2 of this 3-part video series. So for more tips, videos, and for a full list of courses offered by Campus Mortgage, please visit our website at www.campusmortgage.org. Thank you, and as always, make it a great day.